Yes, that's okay.
Here we go.
There are homes that we go into, we tell the people, lock the door, leave the place. It isn't even worth it for an exorcist to go in there.
Well, hey everybody, how we doing tonight? We are welcome to another edition of the Warren Files. I've got one more dude to add in here who just appeared, Mr. Joe Frankie, the one and only. With this, so what toys you got today? Is it a beaver? Is it a snake? And what we working with? Oh, and we can't hear him.
He's muted.
Joe, you're muted. Let me see if I can't unmute him. It's on his end. So anyway, I guess we'll start this over. So, once a season, we like to have regional directors on just to talk about, I don't know if we should just talk about the status of the foundation, what we're looking for, what we're working on, all that kind of stuff. So tonight is definitely throw some questions out there in the chat, because we don't really have a topic other than it's a regional directors roundtable. And while Joe's working on his stuff. So first I want to announce we have a new regional director and a new assistant regional director with us tonight. It's Layla and Tammy. Layla's the director and Tammy's the assistant. They've both already been working their butts off. So it's like, I almost forgot that you're like new to it, because
I know we kind of just melded into our roles, both of us.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys have already been doing a lot of it. So, I mean, it's
Joe's giving us hand signals over here, but we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Joe. You're muted.
Can't hear you, Joe.
He's like, I don't know.
All right. Let's not get too sidetracked with Joe. We'll just let him we'll just let him think that he's participating.
We'll just laugh if we see him talking.
Yeah. And then Stephanie Treadway, who has taken over most of the United States regional director duties. She's like the mafia. She's moved into the East Coast now from the West. You started out in the West Coast.
Yeah.
And
now I'm doing the Western Division.
Yep.
And then the Northeastern with Joe.
There you go.
Sorry, I had that mute.
There you
go.
There you are.
Sorry, ladies.
Hey, there's a gentleman in here too. Thank you very much.
I'm a big dumb animal. What am I going to say?
It's all good.
So what you guys all been up to? Who's got something really, really cool to share? Or, I mean,
we've just been working on cases over here. I think we've gotten a lot of cases out of Texas lately, so I don't know what's going on. That's where I'm from.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on with Texas and Wisconsin, but we've gotten a lot of cases out of both those states lately.
I think I should run a ticker across the bottom, warning, stay out of Texas and Wisconsin, because
exactly.
Does anybody know, where did they create that big Ouija board that was like the size of a football field? That wasn't in Texas or Wisconsin, was it?
I thought it was in
Mexico. It could be.
My backyard.
In Mexico?
It was in Joe's backyard.
I think it was bigger than the state of Connecticut. So.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
We'll blame it on Texas.
Yeah. It was the world's biggest Ouija board, and a bunch of people created it. And it was, like I said, I think they used a football field for it.
Oh, well, I went and saw Insidious this morning, Layla.
Oh, did you?
Oh, what'd you think of it?
I liked it. I thought it was really a good movie. It tied all the other ones in, and it ended happy.
It did end
happy.
It took a little bit to get to where it needed to be, but they were wrapping up the storyline. I liked it.
Right. But what I was going to say was every single preview prior to that movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to tell the Warren Legacy Foundation, get ready. We're about to have 1 million demonic cases because I absolutely detest the previews that were with it. Did you? It was bad. Like some of them are just so scary. And why are we putting this out there to people?
That's how movies are. I think there's one coming out with the hand or something that's like a dead hand.
That was the one.
Yeah. That's one. I'm like, we're gonna get a lot out of that one.
The hand from the Addams Family?
No. It's like a corpse. It's like a corpse hand, and they like hold on to it and to use it kind of like a Ouija board. I don't know how to explain it. It's just
I don't either.
Yeah.
It's basically inviting. It basically invites the bad in if you hold the hand.
So it teaches people how to do stupid stuff.
To cut off a hand from the cemetery and then use it.
Correct. It's awful.
That's awesome. Yeah, that Legion of Exorcists.
Win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That Legion of Exorcists show, when that came on, I was like, oh crap. We're gonna get flooded with demonic cases and haunted objects because and I haven't in my region, but I don't know foundation wide if we're Stephanie, have you noticed any upticks in cases because of some of these shows?
No, not really. I mean, just the usual people thinking they're possessed when they're not, but I haven't noticed it any more than usual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being that you run half the country.
She knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, but she doesn't have Wisconsin and Texas, so
Nope. I think we're still beating her.
That's all you, Layla.
I know.
Joe, you've got a longer career than most of us. Have you noticed in your career in totality, have the number of haunts gone up since these TV shows and stuff like that started coming out?
Most definitely.
Okay.
I mean, with the mainstream media and social media and television shows, movies. I mean, when I started, way back in the 80s, I don't even know if Sightings was on the air back then. Sightings is a show I remember. And Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. Shows like that go back to the probably late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, now with the internet, I mean, the internet didn't exist then either. But with the internet and all these television shows and podcasts and radio shows, it's it's out there. I mean, there's just more recognition paid to it. And as you get these TV shows that pop up and people think they're paranormal celebrities and everything, and it's kind of bordering on ridiculous in my opinion. And I think I've earned the right to say that. I've been around 37 years. And it's very frustrating. And I'll tell you why. Because the people that we deal with are the people that really need help. They're terrified. They're scared. They have phenomena going on in their homes or places of business with their family members personally. And they're looking for help. They're looking for people that know how to help them. And you cannot learn from a television show, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of haters out there, but I'm telling this, I speak the truth. I learned from, Ed and Lorraine directly. I know there's some questions in there about the Warrens and about Ouija boards, and we can get to those later. But it's turned into almost a joke, where these paranormal teams go in, and Ed used to say they do half the work. They'll go in with all this funny equipment and their cat balls and this, that, and the other thing. And then what happens? Okay, maybe you have a very small percentage of cases that do have some activity. Okay, what are you going to do? How are you prepared to deal with it? How are you going to comfort the family? How are you going to educate the family? If there is a negative entity, dare I say the word demon, I've dealt with demon cases. Okay. And I've been beat up, and I'm not proud of it. And I don't want those kind of cases. As I tell all you guys, if my phone's not ringing, I'm happy. Most of the cases that we will deal with are beautiful cases, past loved ones coming back to visit in times of strife, or, maybe if there's a newborn or a wedding or a happy event in the family. and they want to be a part of it, so they come back for a visit. But television doesn't go that route. They go the route of the dark and the evil, the sinister, the demonic. And that's what puts butts in the seats, and that's what equates dollars. Yay, capitalism. I'm an old school guy. I'm old fashioned. I don't like that stuff because it kind of overshadows the work that we're trying to do.
Because you go back to like Paranormal State was one of the first ones. In like their first season, there was nothing dark or demonic or evil, or they were legit like was a college club looking for paranormal activity.
Yeah, I remember getting an email back in 2000. I want to say 2003. I still probably have it from Ryan Buell.
Yeah,
asking me to speak at the college at one of their team conventions. I wasn't able to do it. I had other commitments at the time, but I believe that those guys were really sincere when they were in school. But once you get involved with these producers, and believe me, I've dealt with my fair share of them. You get these 24, 25-year-old kids to me, fresh out of college, and now they're saying, okay, this is what we want you to do. This is where we want you to stand. This is what we want you to say. Okay. And you can ask my friend John Zaffis this because he's had a couple of his shows.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, Joe, they don't even let us see the episode until it actually airs on TV. So you don't know what they're showing. And sometimes they can show something. And Jeff, I think you've got some experience with this. Sometimes they show something that makes you go, ugh.
Oh,
and you're like, that's embarrassing. And you're like, oh God, I hope nobody watched that.
Well, I was in, so I've got 4 Seconds of Fame in a paranormal show, one of those shows like The Haunting. And they literally, so they interviewed me for like 3 hours. They took a 3 or 4 second phrase that I said and put me in a place where I didn't even know these people who the show was focused on. So they took something completely 100% out of context and put me at this party, and I didn't even know those people then. And it's kind of stupid too, because really what they like, you can tell they showed up with a script in mind and they were filming to get that script. But like their script was way less exciting than what was actually going on at the house. So, I mean, I think if they would just film what's really going on.
Chris and I talk about that a lot, and you're right. Like some of these, even the made-for-TV shows that were based on cases like The Haunting in Connecticut, the Carmen and Al Snedeker home, which is 15 minutes from me, 2 towns over in Southington, Connecticut. That was all blown out of proportion because, you need it to equate dollars. I mean, you got to make money at it. How are you going to make money at it? Discovery Channel did a show some 20 some odd years ago. It was pretty good. It pretty well documented the story of that family. And Chris could tell you better than I, because he was involved directly. He stayed in the house with the family. I remember Ed telling me, he goes, "No, you're too green. I don't want you in on this one. This is a bad case." But I remember hearing about it. So Hollywood, once Hollywood gets a hold of a story, even the Conjuring movies, they're very, air quotes here, loosely based on what really happened in those cases. Hollywood takes a lot of liberties with these movies. I mean, for entertainment purposes, and most of these shows are for entertainment purposes, and they do some of them are pretty well done, I'll admit. But they don't accurately depict how an investigation is conducted from start to finish. And not correctly, at least by the way I was taught.
Yeah.
Okay, I know everyone's different and we have different methods and things like that, and I respect that. But I just think a lot of these shows just to make a mockery of what we're trying to do, and we kind of get lost in that great big noise.
Let's ask the ladies though, because I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, and you guys are all going to tell me I'm an idiot, but it's still a guilty pleasure watching some of these shows. Like there's some that I really, really enjoy. What are your guys' favorites if you enjoy watching any of them?
I actually like watching the YouTube ones, the YouTube kids. But I mean, I'm with Joe. I think it's more sensationalized. But on the plus side, it did bring people out of the dark. Like they feel more comfortable saying, "Hey, I need help," and they're not afraid that they're going to get made fun of. So that's the plus side to me.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yep. Stephanie, what's on your watch list?
I don't really do paranormal TV shows. I like to watch horror movies.
Okay.
for entertainment. But I mean,
Yeah.
the shows, they just kind of make me frustrated. I'm all like, "What are you doing?" and yelling at the TV. And
Exactly.
Did you used to watch them and they just like, because for
I
me, I
did.
used to, and they just
I
kind of
only
like burned
watched
out.
like certain ones. Like I watched The Haunted Collector because of John Zaffis, and you know, I used to watch them with my dad when he was
Okay.
alive. That was our thing. But you know, I don't watch them anymore now that I'm doing
Yeah.
it. You know,
It's not as entertaining now that you
no, it's
once you actually do it.
frustrating.
It definitely isn't as entertaining to watch anymore for sure.
Yeah.
Tammy, what's on your hit list?
I've also watched Haunted Collector. I think my all-time favorite, just because of the format of it, is Dead Files. And I studied with Cindy Kaza, and so she's now taking over that show starting September.
Yeah.
She was on season 15, the last episode, and now she's taking over.
Mhm.
So that's going to be really good. I just like the format of the medium going out and getting things, validating it with historical evidence, actually being able to figure out, what is going on there, and then basing it back to truth, to real facts, and then coming together. The only thing about that show that bothered me was at the end of it, it always seemed like it was just left. Like the poor people were just left with, what they needed to do, and nobody who was helping them. And that's where people like us come in, because like, who gets those cases? We do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they'd give them specific instructions, like, so what we recommend is that you
Right.
go find some Samoan voodoo warlock and have a nice day. Like, I mean, where do you find
Right.
these?
And you're like,
Right.
is that in the yellow pages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they tell them to leave. They just say, "I'm sorry,
Yes.
you can't leave your house." Well, not everyone can leave their
Yep.
house.
No.
It's not
And
an option.
Kindred Spirits is another one I tend to watch some. So yeah.
I've watched that new Project Fear on
Yes, and Destination
YouTube.
Fear
That's actually, I think I like them producing their own show rather than the producers doing it, because it's like the beginning is a lot more fun. It's you know what I mean? It's just, you can tell that they're enjoying doing what they're doing.
relaxing and kind of being themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, we hear you're a big fan of Paranormal State.
Yeah.
Is this true?
No, I mean, look, publicly, I'd never say a derogatory word about anybody in this field, but I have my thoughts on some of these folks that claim to be, someone that they're not.
Yeah.
And that's where you can hurt people, because if you're misrepresenting yourself, okay, on the other side of the coin, you've got a family that is begging for help. Okay, so they're relying on you. They're trusting you that you have knowledge and the so-called expertise to help them understand what's going on, and to face that fear and help them understand that fear, and say, listen, I can come in and help you. I got your six. I got your back. Okay, I'm not going to come in with a proton pack on my back. Okay, and take whatever. I said, you need to fight it. I can help you. I can guide you. I can give you the tools, the knowledge, but you as a family, this is your home, this is your family, this is your business, whatever the case may be. You need to dig your heels in, take a stand, and say, listen, I acknowledge your presence, thank you, but you're not wanted here. We don't want you here. You're scaring people, even if it's something that's pleasant. People are unnerved by things like that. Poltergeist activity isn't natural, hence the term supernatural. It's not natural to see dishes flying around the house and doors opening and closing, pounding on the walls and things like that.
It isn't?
Sometime now. I mean, for some of us it is. For me,
we're used to it.
Sometimes all they want is to be acknowledged. I'll give you an example. I had a woman, my daughter, saw on Facebook, she's 24 years old, she's an adult. She saw on Facebook recently, within the past, say, month and a half, where a woman posted on there's a mom's website for a local town that I live. And she was very reluctant to post this at first because she thought people were going to ridicule her. And she finally just went for broke. She goes, I can't take this anymore. I need help. So she threw it out there. She had a story where she had some phenomena going on in her house. Lights would flicker on and off or go on in the middle of the night. You said the bedroom light would turn on in the middle of the night. 3 o'clock in the morning. Her husband and her would be sleeping. All of a sudden, the light goes on in the bedroom. I said, okay, was the light switch actually turned on? And she said, yes. So it's almost like somebody turned the light on. Her son, who's about a year and a half old, would see something. I don't want to describe it because I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. And he said her son and the family dog would follow something, like they're following something with their eyes around the room. And he would get very scared and very upset, and start crying and screaming almost uncontrollably. So she puts this out there on Facebook. And of course, she got about, I think I counted 48 replies, and she had just posted it within an hour, like 48 replies. Oh my God, dear, you need to call a priest. Call Holy Trinity Church. Father so-and-so will come and exorcise the home. Again, Father so-and-so down the road here can't do an exorcism. Okay? People do not understand that term and what it really means. Exorcism can only be performed by a trained exorcist. And they have to be trained adequately, and they have to go in with the blessing of the Archbishop. Anyway, so she's getting, and my daughter, who's been around me for 24 years, knows, she just shook her head. She's like, no, you need to call my dad. So she said, can I PM you? Yeah. So they PM'd each other. I said, just give her my phone number, have her call me. So within 5-10 minutes, she called me. I said, what's going on? Okay. The weird thing is, and Tammy, you know, because you helped me with this.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, the house the woman lives in was built in 1993 by a friend of mine who was the police chief in town. He and his family lived there for 27 years. Just sold the house to this woman and her husband a few years back, I think 2019. So the house was a cow pasture before that. I used to take my telescope up in the field with the farmer's permission, and cows bumping into me and stuff. So, I mean, there wasn't a history to the house. There wasn't any morbid history of, psychotic ghosts and demons and everything. So my buddy retired to Florida. So I actually called him on the phone. I said, I got a good one for you, Pete. I said, have you and Joanne or the kids ever experienced anything in the home? He's like, no, why do you ask? So I told him a little bit about, what the woman told me, that they bought the house from them. And he starts chuckling. He's like, no. He goes, so he called me back a couple hours later. Said, I even called Mike. His kids are grown adults now. He's like, they never experienced anything. Yeah. So I asked her some questions about, okay, you're having this phenomenon now. There has to have been a point of origin when it started. Can you remember when it started and how did it start? I said, take me backwards. I said, call me back if you need to think about it. Write it down. So she said, it probably started just a couple of months after we moved in. Obviously, this is before the baby was born, because they've been there about 4 years now, and the child's a year and a half. So you have to methodically ask questions: the who, what, when, where. You have to ask those questions to find out where the point of origin was. Okay, I asked her about antiquing. Do you do antiquing? She says no, but I have a bedroom set that belonged to my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. And my maternal grandmother, who I was extremely close to, I think she was actually named after her, just passed away recently within the last couple of years, I think 2018, something like that. So, in speaking with her, I hadn't even gone to the house yet. I had planned to go to the house, and the day I was supposed to go over there, literally 3/4 of a mile from me, I guess her husband got called into work, and I said, well, I don't want to come over if your husband's not home. Why don't we just reschedule? In the meantime, I gave her a bunch of things to do and some homework, and just to keep an eye on things. But I did tell her this, and Tammy, break in here if I'm forgetting something.
Yeah.
But I said, just walk through your home and address your grandmother. Okay? Let's assume that it is her. Okay? That it's a nice presence. She just wants to be acknowledged. She wants to be there to help. She's helping with the baby. She wants to visit the baby. She wants to help with, the chores. Getting food prepared, whatever. And I said, why don't you just acknowledge that she's there and thank her. But tell her, listen, Graham, or whatever, she had a Polish name for grandmother. I don't remember. I'm not sure what it is. But she's like, well, should I speak to her in English or in Polish? I said, it doesn't matter. She'll understand you. Mm-hmm. So I said, just do this and just walk around the house in a very pleasant tone. and say, listen, I appreciate you coming to visit, but you're scaring the baby, and you're scaring us. Can you please just go on into the light and pass over and be at peace? So it took a couple of nights. I said, just continue doing it a couple of times before you go to bed, put the child down. And I hadn't heard from her in about a week. And I'm like, that's weird, because the way last time I left off, she was going to call me. So I sent her a note and I said, I'm just checking in. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. We've just been really busy, but it's been really quiet. I said, well, that's good. She said there was one night shortly after I spoke to her where the baby woke up screaming again. She was at home alone. Her husband was at work. She went up and she did what I asked her to do. And she said, and she put the baby back in the bed, went downstairs and was looking at the baby monitor. She goes, within a minute or two, he was sound asleep. So I take that as a good sign. Could I ever tell for sure? No. I mean, it's impossible.
That leads into, that leads into something that is kind of unique that we do, and probably something that is newer to all of us. Why don't you ladies chime in on this? So we primarily do things through Zoom. Mm-hmm. Do you guys find that, like, I personally, like, when we first started doing it, I'm a, like, let's go to the house and get the cameras out. And, I was always that way, but, like, there's so much that you can do over the internet with people that, really helps them. What do you guys think about doing things by Zoom?
I agree. There's a lot we can do, and a lot, like Joe said, you teach them to help themselves. Yes. Or you help them find the resources, because I'm in Texas, but we could get a case in Arkansas. So it's not necessarily easy for us just to go over there.
Right.
But, 95% of our cases, it's something like Joe said, it's nothing crazy. It's something benign. It's family member. It's something, but we teach them to learn, first of all, that it's nothing crazy. That's one of the big things that people are scared when they come to us. So even on Zoom, we're able to quickly hop on and at least alleviate their fears. So that's a good part of it. But we're teaching them what they need to do to take care of themselves. I think that's great.
Stephanie, do you like the Zoom method, or
I do. What do you think? I think that a lot of the stuff that we deal with can be handled through Zoom. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time we don't have to go to their homes, and they just want reassurance that they're going to be okay and they're not going to be hurt by some demon because the show told them they would.
Yeah.
It's all about empowering them. Empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can do that over the phone, or you can do it over Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. Yeah, and ultimately, even, we can assist and help with cleansings, like even for local clients that we have on our, like our local teams that we all have. You can go out to their house and you can do a cleansing, and that's great. But unless they participate and they mean it and it's their faith, it's not going to work anyway. So we are instrumental in giving them and educating them on how to do things, empowering them. And that right there is like step one.
Yep. Because that's, for me personally, that's something like I always thought, when I first started doing this and before I joined the foundation, that I could go and kick something out of somebody's house and not really putting them into the equation, because at the end of the day, they have to make some lifestyle changes. They have to be the ones to do the work. They have to be the ones to take their house back. Because if I go in there and remove something for a little bit, but they continue to do what they were doing before, it's just going to come right back. And
that's what a lot of people do that don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And they make matters worse, because eventually the investigator or so-called investigator will need to go home. Mm-hmm. And then all hell breaks loose and the shit hits the fan after you've left. And now they're calling you. You're walking in your front door. Oh my God, all hell's breaking loose over here.
Yep.
Because they stirred the hornet's nest.
They spent the last 5 hours in there saying, "Who's here? Who are you? What do you want? Do something. And then they go home and it's like, okay, now we're going to do something when you guys leave because you're pissing me off.
Yeah. One thing Ed always told me, I think I've mentioned this many times. He goes, "Go, Joe." He says, "Remember, spirits come on their time, not on your time. They're not on cue." Mm-hmm. So when you're watching these TV shows and people asking us questions, and then the flashlight goes off. Is it edited? Could be. Does it really happen? Maybe it does. But that doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
It doesn't mean anything. But spirits, especially negative spirits, they're going to wait until you're at your lowest, most vulnerable point. And then they're going to strike. Yeah. All right? And people need to be aware of that. So like when you just mentioned, Jeff, You thought you can go in there and kick them out. No,
Mm-hmm.
no. You need to find out what you're dealing with first. Yep. All right. And in the few demon cases that I've worked on, these negative entities, they're powerful. I'm just a man.
Mm-hmm.
They can kick the shit out of me. I've been beat up, thrown across the room, scratched, punched. I mean, and it hurts physically.
Yeah.
Grandma's ghost coming back for a visit's not going to do that.
No. Yeah.
You know, they don't have that kind of power.
Yep.
And they wouldn't do that anyway.
Yeah.
It's all in the approach.
Yep. And that's, you know, here's another question too that I guess I've done this long enough now to put this kind of maybe pattern, I guess, but how often do you guys actually get answers to questions or activity when you're doing an EVP session versus you're setting up and that's when they decide to, you know what I mean? That's when they decide to talk. Or like Joe just said, they talk when they want, not when you're asking them questions most of the time. What are your guys' experience with that?
No, I agree 100%. It's almost like sometimes if you're kind of tired and you're just kind of sit back and talking to each other, something happens, or like you said, you're first trying to set something up.
Yeah. Yep.
And then that's when you get something. But I mean, sometimes I've gotten responses, but it's very rare.
Yeah. What about you, Stephanie? Same way or?
Yeah, I mean, I get responses, but most of the time it's just me filming and something just pops up. I try not to ask too many questions unless I know the situation because I don't want to stir it up more.
Right. You know. Tammy, you guys do a ton of investigating. You guys, you know, do a lot of public buildings and stuff too. So what's your, I guess, percentage of actual sessions versus we caught this while we're setting up or it just decided to speak, so we caught it?
Yeah, you know, honestly, it's really strange. For us, we've noticed a pattern of heavy EVP, no equipment, heavy equipment, no EVP. I'm not sure why that is, but we have definitely noticed that. Yep. And does it happen like whenever? Yeah, it just happens whenever. I know we have one really amazing, like full song of a whistle at a location. We're all talking, walking down a staircase, heading back to base. And there's somebody whistling a tune the entire time we're walking back. And it is none of us. And we didn't even realize it until we played back and watched our footage. And we were like, wait, what is that whistle? Who's whistling? Nobody's whistling. And it's, so sometimes they do just happenstance when you're not even paying any attention.
Yeah. A buddy of mine, they went to, it was a story, you know, here in Toledo where some college girls rented a house, you know, while they were going to school, and something would just like beat the attic door and like just pound on it constantly. And it would open, you know, a bunch of other stuff would happen. So they called the dad over, one of the girls' dads, to come tape the attic door shut. And he taped it with duct tape, and this thing beat it open. So they called in my friend's team, Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunter Society. And while they were setting up, the guy was going upstairs with he had his recorder because he always hits record as soon as he walks in. And these spirits couldn't wait to talk to him. He was like, hurry up, we're up here, or something like that. I mean, it's really clear. I forget exactly what it says, but like, you know, they weren't doing sessions. It was just we're setting up and they couldn't wait to talk. And that was a productive place for EVPs and things like that for them. They ended up, the girls ended up moving out of the house because it was so bad, but they were doing Ouija boards and playing around with things that they shouldn't have. And, you know, so they were, I think, kind of getting off on the haunting, you know, but then a couple of them didn't like it. So
we get a lot of cases like that too. I love when they're honest too. They're like, I messed around with something I shouldn't have, and here we are.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something too that, you know, people that would apply for help or anything like that is that we ask you to be honest. Nobody here in the foundation is going to judge you for anything you say. But if you're sandbagging that, oh yeah, you know, I kind of played around with some black magic, you know, about 5-6 years ago, and, you know, was doing some summoning spells. If you keep that in your pocket, like, we need to know that, you know, don't be embarrassed. We're not going to sit there and chastise you for it, but, you know, you have to tell us things like that.
Yeah. So we can help you properly.
Yep.
Right. And I'll tell you, without disclosing like any personal information, I can tell you that when people do hold back and they don't tell you everything, what your plan of action, your plan of course may not work. Yeah. And we had a case where we had a couple that both had a different religion, and one of them was kind of, I guess, didn't want us to really know what the other's religion was because she thought that maybe we would frown upon it. And we're open to any religion, at the Warren Foundation. If you're pagan, whatever it is, it's fine. But this particular instance, we were trying to help. We were trying to empower them, get them on a path to get their house back in order and cleanse it and kind of figure it out and validate it historically what we thought was going on, and put a plan of action into place and empowered her to do it. And then went about a month without realizing that there was someone else, her spouse, that had a completely different faith. And we need to incorporate his faith into the cleansings too, so that they're coming together as one united front to drive this thing out. So, once she realized, oh shoot, I didn't know that would make a difference, then we were able to move forward.
And that's another great thing about the foundation too, because I had, I told you the whole state of Wisconsin is haunted. There's a lot of Native American stuff up there, and that's not in my wheelhouse. Like I don't know how to deal with that. So, but with the people in the foundation, that people do know what they're talking about when it comes to dealing with Native American spirits and things like that. And it worked great. It helped perfect, so we all have that knowledge base that we can tap into if something's not necessarily in our wheelhouse. And, we help them. They're like, man, this is great. Everything's great now. That's awesome. There's a lot of success stories that we've had. There's some not so successful ones, but it happens from time to time. So
like you said, we can only help them if they want to help themselves.
Yes.
There's only so much we can do.
Yep. Is there one? Okay, I've got something in mind, and I'm going to ask all of you this question. Is there one common thing in probably 90 to 95% of your cases? Is there one common issue in most paranormal cases that you deal with, and what is it?
Fear.
Okay. That's not the one I was thinking of, but you're right. That is definitely a common one. Is there any... do you guys have any thoughts? Is there anything that you've noticed in the years that you've been doing it that's pretty common in most cases?
So mental health issues.
Yeah.
Those are two.
Yeah.
Not the ones I was thinking, but those two are both good ones.
What are you thinking, Jeff?
You tell us. Stephanie, you haven't asked Stephanie or Joe.
Hang on, what'd Joe say?
Outside influence.
Okay, that's not it either.
No,
maybe I'm the only one.
Well, what are you thinking, Joe?
And Jen's over here saying substance abuse, which that's not it either. But
No.
but I have encountered that, and that's not fun.
I think another thing is medications. People don't realize some medications will help you hallucinate. And
Still not it though, Jeff, right?
Yeah, those are all great, but I am 0 for 5 on this one. I have found clutter.
Oh, wow.
People that have dark homes, cluttered homes.
Yeah.
They don't open the windows. I've found that as almost everything. I mean, I'm not saying that's the cause. It just seems that seems to be a common denominator a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I was talking about outside influences is what we were talking about earlier with the TV shows and everything. Mm-hmm. People watch this, so it's psychosomatic. It's already in their head.
Yeah.
So if you watch, if you've been brave enough to watch The Exorcist at 2 a.m. in the dark all by yourself,
don't do it.
But then when it's over, you're like, oh shit! Every little noise you hear, you think it's something.
Everything's paranormal.
And that's the common denominator I find with a lot of people. Because one of the first questions I asked them is, do you watch any of these TV shows or movies? And oh yeah, we watch them all the time. We love them. Blah, blah. I'm like, stop.
Yep.
Stop watching them. Okay. Yes, they're entertaining, but it gets in your head now. Mm-hmm. And if people start to believe everything they see on TV, and they think that, this it must be a demon. This guy said it was, and I'm like, oh my God! Now I got to talk these people back off the ledge.
Yep.
And you can't put the stuff back in the horse. So it's like you don't have a demon here. There's no demon here.
Yeah.
Well, why did so and so? Because so and so doesn't know what they're talking about. I said they said it, but then they disappear, and like, well, I had this team here, and now they won't return my calls. They said they had evidence. They won't send it to me. And and then what I will do is say, give me the name of that so-called team, and I'll try to contact them. And it said, if your true intention was to help these people, then you need to help me.
Yep.
Because you were there. Tell me what you want. Now, most people are very, very cooperative. But you get the people like, oh, this is my case. This is my case.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing that information. Even with I got the client's permission. I said, well, then why the hell did you run from their house? Literally, in some cases, that's what happens. Why did you run from their house and then ghost them? No pun intended.
I've actually got a really good example of, you know, the opposite of that in Wisconsin going on right now. There's a client reached out to us, but she had already had another team involved, and she didn't tell us that right away, which, you know, that's,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yep. That's fine. Well, this guy is doing a fantastic job.
Good.
Him and I communicate, you know, they still haven't solved the problem. I think, you know, and I've told him, I'm pretty sure I kind of know what's going on.
Did the daughter get help?
No, not yet.
Well,
so that's
needs to get
part
that
of the issue. Yeah. The daughter she's got some
big part of the issue
abilities that she refuses to shut down in the house. But it's also too a case where I really feel that, you know, so you've got the mom is there scared to death, but then her friends come over and they're all having, oh my God, did you see that over there in the bathroom? You know what I mean? They're all
and
like,
wasn't there alcohol involved too?
Yeah, there was some drinking the one night. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but I think they all come over and, like, I don't want to say they investigate the house.
I'm not close to the case like you are, but
yeah, it's still ongoing, but it's, you know, so the friends will come over and, like I said, I think actually I do think they investigate sometimes, but they also they feed into it because that's all they talk about is, well, yeah, I was in your bathroom and this happened, and, you know, it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a vicious circle of them going on.
They're never going to resolve this then.
Right.
So your friend, the gentleman that's been helping them, is wasting his time.
Well, and him and I we're going to have a chat with her about that, because he
better have
he
a coming to
agrees.
Jesus meeting with her and her daughter.
Yep. And it's, and the thing is too, it's like, I'm not dogging on this person at all, because the problem is like, I think it was Tammy said, fear. She is scared to death, and her friends feed that fear. They're scared to death. So they're all in this place scared to death. And so, of course, everything that moves or pops or, your house will expand and contract all the time and make noises. So, but every one of those it's something dark and bad. And then they've got, you know, she's contacted a couple outside mediums that have come in and told her, you've got a portal in your backyard, and I've seen this hooded figure, and it's like, oh my God, would you stop? Just like, and I did tell her, you've got to stop having these other people in here, you know, have this other investigator that's involved, because he legit knows what he's doing. He's a very good investigator. I'm hoping he applies to the foundation. But
so does this gentleman, we'll call him Rick, I know his real name.
Yeah.
Does he know she's bringing in these other people?
Yes.
Because they're causing more harm than good.
Yep. Yeah.
Him
and I talked the other day. Yeah, for sure.
Update me on it. I'm not up to date on what's been going on. But.
Yeah. So they did an actual investigation with cameras and things like that because she's still saying that things are there. You know, he'll come and cleanse, and it's a long story. Like you said, off air, we'll chat about this.
Having equipment is great to document what you're doing. That's fine.
Yes.
But that's the important thing is to give these folks peace.
Yep.
And say what is happening. We need to find out why it's happening, who it's happening to. We've narrowed it down. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the child, the teenager, okay, she's not baptized. Is that true?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, which can be very important, regardless of your faith. That is your initial protection.
Yep.
But she's got a gift, you say, that is unharnessed. Mm-hmm. She needs someone like Tammy, someone that's gifted and can teach her how to control it.
Yep.
Because it's like things are going amok over there, and they're just running around in circles, scaring themselves.
Yep. And the thing is, like, so, you ladies are all gifted, I believe, from, knowing what I know about you guys. Layla, no?
No, just empath. That's about it.
Joe, you're special. There's a difference. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm special in another way.
Yeah. But I mean, I think a common thing among like mediums and psychics is they do want to help. They're most of them that I know are genuinely nice people. And
they don't charge. Let's go ahead and put that out there. Anyone who charges, I would stay far away from.
Yeah. But the daughter in this case wants to help the spirits. That's what, so like, you may think you're talking to this nice old lady, but it may not be. And I think that's part of the problem is she's not shutting it down. Right.
If it is something negative, it's drawing her in, and she's very easily influenced, and that can spell danger not only for her but for the whole family.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, as a medium, I have a rule, and you don't go seek it out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go seek out like who can I cross over tonight? Like you don't walk around like that. You just don't.
Let me ask you this: Do you ever have things come to you that are trying to deceive you, like something that's bad may come as a little kid or something like that?
It could.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you're using forms of divination, when you don't understand what you're doing.
Stephanie, is
that very easily influenced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie, has that ever happened to you?
It hasn't, but I could see why it would, especially like if they use a child and it's going to a mom. Of course, the mom's going to go open arms trying to help this child.
Yep.
I could see why it would pose as a child, but it's never happened to me.
Yeah. Okay. That's just something I don't think I've ever asked that question before. If that's something mediums experience, is that something is trying to mask what they really are when they're trying to come to them. So Joe, let's ask you this. So you obviously knew Lorraine Warren quite a bit. Did she ever mention anything like that?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
I was
reading the comments.
Did something ever try to come to her as something that it wasn't, to deceive her?
Oh yeah. Yeah, many times.
Okay.
They will manipulate. They're masters of disguise or masters of deception with anybody. I mean, Lorraine was no different. She was just very gifted, and she was able to discern, between right and wrong. I mean, I've worked on cases with Ouija boards, seances, and the spirit of this little girl that died on the property came through, and I said, how do you know it was a little girl?
Yeah.
Well, because she said she was 9 years old or whatever. I said, no, that girl's at rest. They want to deceive you into letting you open that door further into your life. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I could remember Lorraine telling me things, even at Amityville, where she would see things that weren't as they really were. Yeah. You may see an innocent face that would turn into a grotesque face. Kind of sort of stuff you see in the movies, but this is real. Yeah. And it's extremely unnerving. And obviously people are going to be terrified out of their minds, but that's the whole key to this is to say, all right, how do you put a stop to it? The first thing you got to do is face that fear. As hard as that is, it's like something like public speaking. How many people here, they say the greatest fear people have is of public speaking.
Let me interject for 1 second.
Yeah.
I actually quit college like 2 classes short of getting a degree because it was time to take speech class. I was so afraid to talk in front of people. I quit college.
Wow.
And
now look at you. Now look at you.
Exactly. Now look at me.
Look at you.
I remember, but obviously, I don't have a problem doing that anymore.
Yeah.
The first lecture I ever gave, was I a little nervous? Yeah, of course. You got maybe 50 people in the audience. It was at a library, and that was like 25 years ago. Now I speak at colleges, and it might be anywhere from 100 to 1,000 or 3,000 people in the audience. But if you're confident in what you're talking about in the subject, and you know what you're talking about, I know what I was taught.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm definitely not saying I know everything, but that's why we're a team. We all feed off one another. That's why this foundation is just a great team. There are people, I don't care if you've been doing it 4 months or 40 years.
Yeah.
We all have a purpose and a position within this foundation, and we work together seamlessly to help our client. We don't have silos. I don't care if your case is in Texas or New Zealand or England. You need my help. You need Tammy's help, Layla's help, Stephanie's help. We'll be there for you.
Yep.
We work as a fine-oiled machine to help people. The frustrating thing is the people that are out for the glory and the money shot and the fame and all that stuff, they muddy up the waters.
Yep.
And it frustrates me because there are
Yeah.
people out there that we know right now that need help and they're not getting the proper help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
We gotta- Go ahead.
they're listening to the wrong people. And it's
Yep.
like Joe said, it's frustrating. We know what we need to do to help them. And
Yeah.
there's just nothing we
And
can
look,
do.
and look, and not all these people are out to deceive. These people probably have hearts of gold and they want to help. They're just not trained.
I think some do,
How
and
to
some
do
are
it.
definitely out there. We want to.
I
We
agree.
want to get it. We want to get a YouTube video, and we could give two shits if we get rid of whatever's in your house and whatever's bothering you, as long as
Yeah.
we get some good content. There's a good question here. This is actually a pretty interesting question from the comments.
Oh, hey, Shannon. I know her.
So how many? So she says the reason I'm asking is because so many elderly have dementia. How many spirits are getting lost after death because of dementia? That's a pretty good question.
I don't feel. I feel that after they've passed, they don't have dementia anymore.
Right.
That's what I would say also.
Okay.
They don't have dementia anymore. They're perfectly fine and happy and full of love. And I actually have a good friend that joined the foundation, who is he's kind of a dementia expert, at least in my opinion. And that's why I brought him into the foundation. He has no background in paranormal research. However, he met the Warrens. The Warrens worked on a case for him years ago, like in the 80s. I met this gentleman some years ago at one of my lectures, and he approached me. And his parents, his mom's still alive, but has dementia really bad. His dad died of dementia about a year or so ago, if I remember correctly. But this gentleman gives talks at libraries and private organizations on dementia. And it's a big help to us because we may be dealing with clients with those issues. And I'm no dementia expert. You know, so that's why I said we have so many people. We have Father Ken, who is a great spiritual leader, you know, and he can offer advice that maybe none of us else would think about it because it's coming from, you know, his background, his training. So, you know, that is a very, very good question. But I would say, in my humble opinion, you don't have dementia. You have no ailments once you pass over. You are free of all those.
Yep.
I believe the same thing.
Yeah, you're at peace.
I mean, it would be just as if you had cancer when you pass over. You know, that's nothing you have to suffer with anymore.
That's what my religion teaches too, is that once you die, you're given a glorified body.
Right.
Like, you know, so any pain, sickness, whatever you had is gone. So that's my belief too. But that was a really, really good question. So, I mean, so I put it up there. So what do you guys think? Let's start with Stephanie this time. Crap, the question escaped me. I've had such brain fog. It's not even funny. Maybe I need to talk to Joe's buddy Bob.
Hey,
You have an excuse for it though. You've had a lot going on.
Yeah. So what is one of the biggest things you've learned since you've been a member of the foundation, as far as like, I used to believe this, but now, oh man, I was dead wrong on that. Is there anything that you've really learned that really set home? There's probably a lot, but like what's the biggest?
I mean, I would say mental health is a big issue. And that doesn't mean that there's no paranormal going on, but mental health really takes the front runner in my cases.
Yeah. And I'll tag on to that too, that, you know, a lot of paranormal teams, once there's like psych meds involved or anything like that, they won't even take the case. Whereas we definitely, you know, I personally am of the belief that you're actually more susceptible to paranormal occurrences if you have mental problems.
And in most cases, they shouldn't take the case because they wouldn't know how to handle it.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not being disrespectful to these groups. It's just they don't have the training.
Yep. And sometimes not taking a case is the right course of action.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know what you're doing, don't take the case. Just
you can make it worse.
That's
or ask for help. Some people are just too proud.
Yep.
Or the ego won't let them ask for help from someone that may know.
Yep.
You know how to help. I've had people ask, Joe, I'm in over my head, and I respected them for that.
Mm-hmm.
I say, okay, let me help you. I don't want to take over your case, but I will help you. I'll help anybody.
Yep.
Tammy and I had a case like that. We knew after the first meeting that and Jeff, you were there.
Yeah.
I reached out. I'm like, Joe, Chris, we need somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point of the foundation. We reach out to others that's going to help us.
And if I had gotten that case, I would have done the same thing. I would have said, all right, we need to get some people on here that, you know, this is in their wheelhouse, because I know a bit about it, but not as much as some of these other people. So
that's the great part about the foundation. We stick with the client as long as they need us. You know, we don't turn them away and say, you're crazy. You know, we help them get the resources they need. And if they're still having paranormal activity, we will open up the case again. But they have to get treatment, and we have to rule out mental illness because it's out there.
Yep. And that's always a big thing too, that like, I think sometimes clients with mental issues, they want to blame it on the paranormal because they don't want to come to the realization that they're losing some of their faculties or they have problems. And that's, so they jump to the paranormal. It's not me. And the thing is too, they truly believe it, you know, it's, and you can't blame them. But then once you point it out to them, sometimes they still stick with, you know, well, but I got to show you this because it's paranormal. It's like, you know, that's one of the hardest things to tell people I've found, is that, like, you know, we're not really getting anything paranormal here. So we really need to approach this from a medical or mental health standpoint. So Tammy, what about you? What's,
no, go ahead.
On that same line, Steve White just put a question. Who's qualified to tell the difference between mental illness and actual possession? And how does one become qualified to recognize something like this? So we have protocols within the Warren Legacy Foundation, and we do actually have you sit for a psych evaluation. I mean, there is nothing that can replace a psych evaluation to say, you know, that there's something going on. Turn to science, turn to the medical. That's pretty much how we determine how, you know, so qualified doctors, people that actually can give psychological testing and figure out, you know, where these people are, if there's an issue, if there's something going on within, you know, they have a psychosis, are they a schizophrenic, you know, what is going on with them? Is there anything? And if there is not, and they've been given it all clear by a medical physician, then we can look at the paranormal stuff.
Well, if it's a case of actual possession, not just infestation or oppression, possession has some very telling signs. The person has knowledge that they shouldn't have. They speak in tongues. They have incredible strength. I mean, they have an aversion to religious objects, holy water, you know, crucifix, things like that. There's ways to tell if someone's actually possessed. You know, but mental illness, you want to reel out all the natural explanations. I always say there's usually a natural or scientific explanation for things. Now, if you've crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, and you've just scratched your head and tried everything, then you might want to look towards the supernatural. That which is paranormal, that which is above normal, above the five senses.
Because like Joe said, you know, certain things will definitely give you a sign, because if you're schizophrenic, you're not going to just know Latin out of the blue. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's definitely certain things you may, I mean, a lot of these extreme mental illnesses can mimic possession for sure. But like I said, you're not going to all of a sudden start speaking in tongues or speaking in Latin or something like that.
Or have precognition and know what's going to happen. And,
or know things about the people that are talking to you that you've never met before. You know, those are some signs. But I mean, I guess in answer to the question, there's ways to be certified to be a part of that puzzle, but I don't know that there's not a certification to, well, I'm certified to tell somebody if they're possessed or not. I mean, you can help, and there's qualifications and training that you can take, but there's no like certification. Like you can't hang something on your wall. For.
Obviously, we would have a medical professional evaluate them medically, psychologically, you know, and then, you know, we would ask for a waiver that they could share that information with us because we're trying to help them. Where I get frustrated, and I'm sure you all share this sentiment, is the people that come to us for help. And we're doing this voluntarily. We don't charge a penny for our services and never will, never have. However, then the client stonewalls you and we say, listen, you know, you're telling me this, and this is happening. This is what we need you to do. There is a process, like Tammy said earlier. But now they're like, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that. Well, what do you mean you don't want to do that? You're asking for my help. I'm telling you or asking you to do this, so it'll help, not only help you, but it'll help us better understand what may or may not be going on with you. But when they refuse, I can't do that. It won't let me do that. Well, what are you talking about? It won't let me do that. Someone that's possessed doesn't know they're possessed. Okay, I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
Someone that is oppressed may know it, and they can function like you and I can function.
Mhm.
Right.
Someone that's possessed, they won't be able to function like we can.
Yeah.
Because that means out of their own free will, they have given up their body to this, whatever this entity is. That's very rare.
Yeah.
That's very rare. So this word, possession, exorcism, they're thrown around like nothing.
It's
And they're
too much.
interchangeable. And if you perform a deliverance, or a deliverance is a layman's form of exorcism, very
Yes.
powerful. Okay, but you have to be a trained exorcist. You perform an exorcism on someone that's got mental health issues, you're just going to exasperate the problem.
Yep.
You can do mental harm to that person.
Yep.
So exorcism is always the last resort.
We had a client, early on when I became a regional director, that I looked into past help that he had gotten, and one of them is he had had an exorcism performed on him. They strapped this guy into a chair, like, I mean, just the whole thing, because then they put him on a radio show with his full name and everything, and he was on there with his picture on there and talked about the exorcism and how he was possessed by Satan himself, and they were going on, and I would, dude,
Why
I
would you
was
do that?
livid.
Why
It
would you
was,
do that?
yeah, it was one of these, celebrity exorcists that like doesn't have a clue what they're doing. Like, I was so mad, and it was, and I reached out to them to, like, because I wanted to chat, because well, for one, I started out, I wanted to know about the client that we had, but like, okay, you and I are going to have some words, because that was some major BS. Like, why would I can't imagine ever putting a client on a radio show and talking about strapping them into a chair and how the devil possessed them. And, so what's your thoughts on that? Like, I mean, it was sick.
I'll let the ladies speak, because I'm getting pissed off.
I know. I mean, but how many of us have cleaned up after something like that? How many of us? We get a client and they've dealt with something like that, and it is frustrating, because you want to help the people, and they've been told. I mean, lately, I don't know what it is the last few months, but we've just heard the craziest things that people have been told.
Yeah.
It just pisses me off, because that's breeding fear in the people, and that's the opposite of what we do. We're trying to calm them down. We're trying to help them, not ratchet it up. And
half the time, it takes a couple meetings with the client just to undo what's already been done.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to undo that. Once it's in their head, it's really, really hard to get it out.
And see, that's why I said fear earlier.
Yes.
Because what happens is these people come in and they tell them all these things that are going on in their home. And then now they've created this fear. They already had fear, but now they just amplified that fear.
Yep.
So now they've got this amplification of fear going on every day. They're breathing it. They're every little second, like Jeff said, every little noise, every little, the doorbell could ring, and it's like, oh, they're just jumpy. And then that fear can actually, if there is, say, paranormal, say grandma's visiting here and there, or, your cousin came to see your wedding and went, those little incidents then look like something huge to them, because they're already in a state of fear.
Yeah. Yep. And one of our clients, one of those, so this is, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny to me that they didn't put two and two together. So the female in the house is gifted, and actually the guy is too, but they're learning from one of our other directors, Stephanie, how to deal with that. So they had they went to her aunt's funeral, and they had just gotten home, and she wasn't feeling real good. So her husband decided to get the sage out and do some smudging stuff and cleansing. Well, then she got this horrible pain in her stomach, and so then they were freaking out, thinking, "Oh crap, it's back because, it's attacking me and this and that." Well, then she tells me, after she told me this story, she told me that her aunt died because she was a raging drinker, and her stomach exploded. And I was like, now let's stop and think about this. This is your aunt trying to tell you that she's here. That was her sign, because you know what I mean? It wasn't like you're having a reaction to the smudging like somebody would with holy water. It's your aunt trying to just give you a sign that, hey, I'm here with you.
And Jeff, did you say that she's sensitive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
perfect. Yeah,
yep.
that's absolutely
Empath.
Yep. And she was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm like, see, it's not everything is.
I personally
that's
thought
another
it was having I personally thought I was having a heart attack when my grandmother finally gave me the sign. Like, I saw her and I had this pain in my chest, and I thought, oh my gosh, is this it? Do I need to go to the emergency room? It's the middle of the night. And, I was on the verge of calling 911 in a state. I was out of town, not even in and it turns out I'm sitting there thinking, oh, okay, wait, what is this? No, there's my grandmother. My grandmother had a twisting aorta, and she had pain in her chest her whole life.
Yep.
She's one of my guides, and this is just when she comes back to see me. I feel it every time, and I just tell her, okay, I need a little space. How are you? Good. Glad you're here.
Yep.
Love you. Just give me a little space. Disappears like that.
Yeah, because it's an identifying factor. It's an identifying thing. It's
clairsentience is feeling the emotion, feeling in your body, and it's very strong sometimes. And that's the way they're probably just letting her know they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a big piece of the puzzle with cases we get. People have abilities and don't realize it, and they don't know how to block it. They don't understand they're a beacon, so we help them figure that out.
Yep. Stephanie, I'm sure you've experienced that too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, when we went to the case in New York, I was getting a lot of chest pain, and I realized I was just feeling what the spirit had felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think, sometimes too, like people I joke around about being the green swamp medium, but I really do think that I have untrained abilities that if I were to actually pursue, I would probably be better, because I know there's times that psychic things have happened to me. Like there's like a few stories of things that I've done and things that have happened. That's like, that was absolutely a psychic thing. That was, I was talking with a spirit, like, and it's, you get signs and things like that. There was one time
I've had the same thing, and I'm the same way as you, that I don't really develop it. So
I think my issue is I'll just, I guess, be honest. I don't know if I've ever said this on the show before, but my religious background taught me that psychics were, and I don't believe this, so I want everybody to be clear on this. This is not my current thought. I haven't thought this way in a long, long time, but my religious upbringing taught me that anybody with abilities was demonic. Anything, any spirits or anything like that, paranormal activity, it was demonic. It may seem good, but it's demonic. That's how I was raised.
I was raised the same exact way. So I mean, different religion, but still same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
As was I, which is why I didn't actually start really practicing my mediumship until 5 years ago.
Yep. We've had a lot of people say that, even clients, that like, I was always taught this, but I knew different. You know what I mean? And finally it's like, okay, so finally I'm trying to pursue it or whatever. And it's, it's me and my brother. My brother was in town because, something happened recently that brought him back to town. But we were talking about last night, we were sitting there talking about how him and I have changed a lot of our religious views based on what we were taught when we were younger. And it wasn't necessarily our mom. It was the church and the school that we went to. And it's like, I don't believe that anymore. A lot of the things that we were specifically talking about. So,
that's more of an old school thing too, I think. Cause I don't know, my parents are real old school. They're still telling me to this day they hate what I do.
Yeah.
But what I do.
Yep. And if my mom was alive and I'll be honest, I don't put this on my personal Facebook page most of the time, because I know a lot of times when I put paranormal stuff, I'll get messages, I'll get lectures. And one time I had Stephanie Algady on the show, on my Boo show. And as a paranormal perspective from someone who's a Muslim.
Okay.
And I had a friend of mine just blast me. He's like, do you know she's a Muslim? Like, I said, well, first of all, her name is Stephanie, and she's a fantastic person. I talk to her almost every freaking day of the year.
We love her.
I haven't talked to you in like 4 years. So like, let's establish here who's got a little more priority in my life than you, because it's, I don't know what he meant by that. The church I went to, I mean, we were taught Muslims were bad and this and that, not terrorists and all that crap, but like anybody that was not a Baptist was going to hell. So that's where he was coming from. But still, it's like, hopefully I opened his mind a little bit. Like, dude, do you know how bad you sound? Like, how judgmental, and like, so I don't know. I don't know what got me off on that tangent.
We mock what we don't understand.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree. Yeah.
Yep.
I've always said that.
My grandmother actually threw holy water at me once.
You should have gone, oh, I'm melting. You should have hissed at her or something like
say,
that.
I'm melting, I'm melting.
I
Stephanie,
did.
don't give my mom any ideas. Don't.
You have an aversion to it?
So what happened, Stephanie? Tell us.
When I was younger, I was so curious with witchcraft, and she'd seen some books that I was reading, and she grabbed her holy water and she's throwing it at me. She's like, we're Catholic, we don't do that. And it was great, you know.
That's funny. We've been doing this for an hour and 10 minutes now, so we're going to try and wrap it up. I'd like to ask each of you, region specific, explain your region, what your territory is, and what you guys are looking for, and say from a membership perspective, or what you're not looking for, because we definitely want people to apply to the foundation, but I think we have some specific asks. Stephanie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a big deal that people actually want to help and not just be a part of the Warren name, that they want to come and they want to give their all to these clients, because that's what's important to me, is caring for the clients and watching over the members that are in my regions. So I just want reliable people that know how to communicate with clients, and they're not going to scare them and make things worse. And yeah, I mean, just good members. We just need good investigators.
Yep. Tammy and Layla, Tammy and Layla, you guys are in the same
We're
region.
both in the southern region, which is Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Arkansas.
Yep.
But I'm the same thing. Someone that wants to help, someone that knows it. I mean, like we've all know, Joe's been doing it how many years? You're still always learning. So just come in knowing that you don't know everything is one of the big things.
Right.
No ego.
No egos.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, constantly learning. We're always learning. And that's important because, I mean, I know since I've started doing this, you can have different theories and things change along the way, and it's okay. It's okay because there's no right or wrong, in this industry. So, but I think it's important, like Stephanie said, we have people that want to help. It's a big step. It's a lot of time. It's communicating back and forth through chat messages and communicating through Zooms, and all of this helps the client. You have to feel good at the end of the day when you have a case that finally resolves and you have freed someone. Someone is saying, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I don't hear voices. I am not having this happen anymore. I feel so much better. I mean, that is your goal. That is what you want. And that is what at the end of the day makes you go on doing this. Yep. And we have cases like that all the time.
It's not about us. It's about the client. That's what we're here for, is the client. And that's what you need to understand. It's not about your pride. It's not about your ego. It's about helping the client.
Yep. And I've found too that a lot of people apply that say all they've done is go to historical buildings or public events or public places or, commercial locations. And so I guess, in my region, my specific ask is people that would much rather be involved with private cases than doing that other stuff to gather evidence. Yeah. Because, if the private cases you're helping, the other ones they're fun. They're great. I'm not knocking.
I mean, we go do that. I do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm
going with Tammy on Friday somewhere.
Yep. It's a good way to, sharpen your skills and stuff like that. Plus, I mean, it can be fun, but we need people like you said, that are, caring with clients, that will do reports, that, will research properties and medications. And, we even actually a new aspect that we're opening up to the, as a foundation membership is we're looking for consultants. So let's say you're a psychiatrist. You have really no interest in the paranormal. You believe it's real and you believe that stuff happens, but you don't have any knowledge. So according to our traditional application, you wouldn't be able to apply because you haven't done cases. Well, we still want you to apply, and we're going to put up a special consultant, questionnaire to apply, because we need professionals, even
or an accountant, for example,
electricians. How many cases do you have where you've got things going on that electrical issues that like, maybe we can start a network eventually of electricians that, this person can go check your house out. Well, here's your problem. Your light goes on and off because you got this loose wire in your switch.
Yeah.
I've personally encountered a lot of electrical things that, and that is one of my backgrounds. So, it's come up in a couple cases that I've been on. It's like, I promise you that's not paranormal, and you need to get an electrician in there before your house burns down. Like, I'm pretty sure I know what it is. You've got a wire that's, whatever. It's a long explanation, but
Yeah, and that goes right for plumbers, exterminators, all of those kind of things.
Yeah. Yep. I saw a picture of, and I swear to God, this person said 3 people witnessed it. A demonic entity cut this pipe underneath this person's sink, and the pipe was missing. Here's what happened. Something broke in the crawl space, and the weight of the lead pipe pulled it down. And so it disconnected from the drain. You know what I mean? There was no demon in there cutting your pipes. It's just, but I mean, it's, if I didn't have a construction background, first of all, I wouldn't think that any demons are messing with people's pipes, but it's like, to me, it was simple. I've seen that happen, in my work and my expertise, I've seen that happen many times. So, but so we're looking for all kinds of professionals in a lot of areas.
Yeah, we do have some mental health professionals, and they're such a big help.
Yep. But we need more.
We can put them in Zoom meetings, and they can just, sit there and analyze the client, and it does help. Yep. It really does.
Substance abuse counselors too is something we're looking for.
Absolutely. Yep. I actually, and even if they don't want to sit in on a client interview because they're not comfortable with that, we can show them the interview and have them like evaluate, give us their thoughts. And they're not going to diagnose, but they can certainly help us, like, oh, this is classic.
Point us in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How they can get the help they need.
Yes. And then that's what we like to do, is then turn them over to, medical experts. Say, we don't say, well, our psychiatrist said that you're schizophrenic, so you need to do this. It's like, we suggest, like, we don't even put that part in it. It's like, why don't you go get checked out and go see this type of professional, so. Joe, what's your ask? I know I'm not going to say it. I'll let you say it if you want to, but we are looking for something.
Well, I mean, the Warrens, I grew up with the Warrens. Ed and Lorraine were very near and dear to my heart. My biggest job, I feel, is to protect their name. We're open to anybody, really. We're looking for good people that share the same values and goals that we do, but they may be at different capacities. They might have a professional role in society, and they could do, serve a purpose with the foundation, not just as an investigator. But it does help if you have some, some background in it or some experience in it, so you're not like, totally coming in out of the cold and be unexposed to this. However, like I mentioned, my friend Bob, who's great with dementia patients, Bob, will admit he has no background in paranormal investigation, and neither did I at one point. I mean, we all have to learn. This is a learning process. We learn from one another. We all have our roles. What I don't want are the people that are just riding the coattails of the Warren name. Mm-hmm. And I see that a lot. It's just people just like the Warrens. Yeah, they're world renowned for their work. Mm-hmm. God bless them. May they rest in peace. They're not here anymore. There are people out there that didn't care for them or the way they conducted their work. And there are haters out there. There's haters for everybody. There's people that probably hate me. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I always say 3 things: be kind, be gentle, and be humble. Okay? Who cares about anything? Nothing else matters. The client, the person or persons or family that we're trying to help, we will reach out to any resources within our grasp to help those people. That's why we are a diverse group of professionals. We're not all professional investigators, but we're professionals in our own way, regardless of what you do. You may have a background in firefighting or law enforcement, or like you said, a trade like plumbing or electrical. Those are just as important, because those people who are professionals in their field may be able to offer a natural explanation to something like we just mentioned, where someone who doesn't know that trade would immediately jump to something paranormal because they don't understand it. You know, that's my biggest pet peeve is the people that are just looking to get noticed. They're not willing to put in the 37 years of work of helping countless families. I have no idea how many people I've helped over the years. You know, I don't keep count. The people, and remember this, the people that truly want help, that reach out to us and are desperate for help, don't want to be on TV.
Yeah.
Okay? They want to remain anonymous. I actually ask people's permission if I can speak at a lecture about their case. Obviously not mentioning who or where or any names or anything like that. But I ask them out of respect for the client. Listen, your case was an interesting case. Do you mind if I talk about it when I lecture so that I can educate not only the general public, but would-be investigators that do share the same values we have? There's a lot of good people out there. We're not just trashing people. And forgive me if I came across that way. But it upsets me that people are in this work for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. Okay, and I'm entitled to it just like everyone else is. But if you're in this work to help people and you truly want to help those people, we'll welcome you with open arms. Doesn't mean that you'll be, granted membership. And if we don't grant you membership, we'll give you a reason. We'll say, well, maybe you need to get a little more education, find a team in your area. We're trying to get there. We just don't have the resources right now.
Yes.
I'd like to do training videos. All of us would have a hand in that to try to, help train those people. Because well, Joe, how do I get training? How do I learn things if I was taken, under the wing of Ed and Lorraine and shown their work through their eyes. Okay. I was trained in their way, the Roman Catholic way. I'm Roman Catholic, but we're multi-denominational. There are people out there that are agnostic, atheists. That's fine. No judgment here.
Yep.
We're not going to judge anybody, but I will say that in the interview process, we can tell those people that are not in it for the right reasons. I can tell by, their attitude, because their attitude affects behavior, their body language, their answers to the questions or non-answers, whatever the case may be.
And let me add this before it becomes an HR nightmare tomorrow. Just because if someone has been denied recently or something like that, it's not necessarily because of that reason. I mean, there's been a lot of people that I've interviewed and I've denied their membership, but had they lived within, say, an hour or two of me, where I could personally be with them and work with them, instead of just over the internet and stuff like that, like I would have probably taken them. But if you live 6 hours away from me or another member of our team that, if there's no one close by that can really mentor you, it's hard to really take people that are inexperienced.
Well, right. But I mean, if you don't have experience, it doesn't absolutely mean you're not going to get in.
Right. Yes.
But you may be a social worker and you can add value, a lot of value to an area where I'm not a social worker.
Yep.
You're a professional in your trade. Like you said, professional trades.
Yep.
We're looking for people to serve on our board of directors. I head up a board of directors and we're looking for people that aren't necessarily members of the foundation, that may be in a professional capacity, a lawyer, a doctor, a CPA, someone that could offer insight to our foundation from an outsider's point of view. We're currently looking for multiple members to join our board because we're just trying to get better. Every day we're learning, and as you ladies were saying earlier, some of my thinking on things have changed, especially in the area of psychic abilities. There's a lot of ways I thought about psychic abilities, and I'm like, you know what? I was all wrong about that. One thing I ask, and I ask this every time I have a lecture, is I say, all I ask of you in the audience is to have an open mind. is this possible?
Yeah.
Okay. Just have an open mind about it. And I say, how are we possible? How did we all get here? How am I sitting here in this chair talking to you fine folks? By some supreme creator, God, Allah, Buddha, whoever you believe in, okay? But we need to respect people's beliefs, their opinions. You know, we shouldn't be on social media. I tell our team, listen, I don't want anybody to engage on social media. You guys can do what you want on your social media pages, but if you're going to represent this foundation, you need to know your limits and your boundaries. You know, even if you like something that someone said, okay, and even if they're not a member, if they are a member, that's something that needs to be dealt with internally. But we need to respect each other's thoughts and opinions and beliefs. We're not all cut from the same cloth.
But sometimes too, though, you've got to go on some of these paranormal pages, and if someone shows you a picture of an orb and you have 25 people telling them that, you know, you need to sell your house.
Yeah, that's a whole other show, Jeff.
You know, I'll chime in on some of that activity when I see it online, and not from a jerk perspective. Like, oh, you're an idiot, shut your mouth. It's like, listen, what you got there is dust, or you know what I mean? It's there's respectful ways to educate
people, because we would all do that.
Yeah. Man, I see some amazing things on the internet. Wow.
I think we all do.
And it's not just one. It's like someone will post a picture of an orb, and 25 people will tell them what evil feelings they get from looking at that picture. It's like, Jesus Christ, you know. So now they're scared to death, and like, it's a mess. Yep.
So. Well, I mean, you could feel any way you want to feel about a photo, a video, whatever. But unless you're 100% sure, you probably should keep your opinion.
Exactly.
Like what people say, you never tell someone they're possessed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even if you believe they are, you don't tell them that. What good could come from that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just going to exasperate whatever problem they have. But if you do something like that, you better make damn sure you're right.
Yep. And a good psychic, too, is not going to go into someone's house and say, man, you got a dark cloaked figure running around here, hanging out here all night. It's not good. It's evil.
You shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, you shouldn't say anything. Especially anything like that. That's like, wow, why would you do that? You know, you remove it yourself or keep it in your pocket or something, but you don't want to go in and scare the crap out of people.
Yeah.
I've definitely, we've all dealt with cases where somebody may have something going on, but then someone will come in and now get them scared about things that they were never complaining about originally. You know, so now it's whatever I thought was here. That's not even an issue anymore. It's what this person told me. That's what I'm
they've
scared
ratcheted up the fear.
Right. Yep. So
you're doing more harm than good then.
Yep. So does anybody want to say anything else before we wrap this up? It's been an hour and a half, and I
think that's enough.
I think, you know, one thing I do want to stress again too, and we've been talking about this for the last few minutes, was
and we all love Joe.
Yeah,
yes.
we love Joe.
Did you get your stickers yet?
Well,
no, Jeff was supposed to send them to us. He didn't send them to
tornado. Give him a break. Jeff
well, Joe, I got a confession. Joe, you pissed me off like 2 weeks ago, so I burned your "I Love Joe Frankie" shirt out of effigy. I just, you know, it was
how did I piss you off?
I'm just kidding. It's back here somewhere. Hang on.
We're also waiting for our stickers. See,
I love Joe Frankie. I know we've got to make some more. There's, you know, our house didn't suffer very much tornado damage, but all of the stickers were mysteriously taken away. They're, you know, they're up with Toto now in Oz or something.
When we go to Florida, I hope some of you guys could come.
I think she does have some more. There's another thing too. I guess I'll say this. We are wrapping up our Patreon page. So if anybody here is watching from Patreon, go look at that page, look at the message, send me your email address, because Joe has a bunch of postcards that he's going to mail to me, and I'm going to mail out to the Patreon members as a
Dana,
thank you.
You do work for me. Thank you very much.
Oh shoot.
There are people like Dana and Diet that say I only work for Joe Frankie.
I know. That's not
and
fair.
I didn't even tell them to say that.
Because then I call on them and they're like, I work for Joe. Like,
sorry.
Nobody
works for me. We work together.
Dana's she's a great addition to the foundation. And she
Dana's
knows this.
And
so I can say this on air because her and I have talked about it already, but she gave such a good reading on a location. I thought she cheated. And, and like I said, I've told her this, so this is all fair game. So I tested her. And sure enough, man, she passed the test with flying colors. So she is truly, truly gifted. I was really impressed with her because I thought that psychic reading was one of the best that I've ever seen since I've been doing this. Like it was, I swear to God, I was like,
she's amazing.
You printed that newspaper article and that's what you typed to us because it was.
I can tell you this.
It was that good.
Stephanie, you can back me up. The New York case that we just came back from a month or so ago, very sad case, double homicide case. We were brought in by the family because the family thought there was something evil in the home that caused the family member to commit this crime. But I spoke with some very gifted people. Tammy, I spoke with Dana, Diet, Stephanie, Eligati, and Alana. So there was 5 of our very gifted psychics within our organization. And I don't think any of you guys knew I were talking to one another. I did. It's not like we had a conference call. Mm-hmm. And every single one, I kid you not, Stephanie backed me up. Every one of you guys nailed it. You all came to the same conclusions.
Yep.
Which was a huge help for us as a team because all I wanted to do is understand what was there. There was nothing evil there. I would have felt it as soon as we walked in. But the house was very old. It had a funhouse effect because the floors were uneven and everything. There were a couple of rooms I know that Jenna and Stephanie were uncomfortable in.
And the EMF.
There was EMF, but there was some electrical issues. I don't think the house was grounded properly. So we put that all in our report, told the client, these are our recommendations. There was probably a bunch of mold issues because there was a persistent wet dampness in the basement area. I mean, look, the house is 200 years old. You're going to have issues like that. So if there's mold present or any kind of environmental factors, definitely could affect someone. I don't think it would cause someone to murder 2 people, your family. But anyway, I just wanted to say it's people like these ladies. And Layla, I think I asked you about it too. I didn't want to leave you out. But it's people like that help us do what we do. It is a team effort. It's a team effort. And
I haven't
people to join that team. And like I said, please feel free to apply. Even if you don't have any experience, what can you offer the foundation? What can we offer you?
Yep. And the first, when I get a case in personally, one of the first things I do is I'll do an initial phone call with the client and I'll talk to them and get them to expand on their application a little bit more. And so after I do that, my first thoughts are, okay, who in the foundation am I going to call? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I've never solved a case on my own yet.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, Stephanie, this is her expertise, or Tammy or Layla, or, and I'm going to tell all 4 of you right here that's on camera with me right now. One of the most underused people in the foundation is Lana from the UK. If you guys have never talked to her, reach out to her and chat with her sometime. She's low key and quiet and stuff like that, but she's really good at
those are the most observant people, or the quiet ones. They know
very,
what's going
very good
on.
at a lot of things. So, don't feel afraid to reach out to her. She is,
and that's what I love about the foundation. It's not like it's not regional.
Yes.
We can have people from 10 different regions and on one case because that's what we need. We need the help. They have the expertise.
Yep. So, all right. Unless anybody has anything else to say, I think we'll wrap it up. And
I'm good.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Everybody's sitting there going, Joe, shut up. Don't say another word.
No, we love listening to Joe. You have the good stories.
We'll go down a rabbit hole and we'll be talking for another hour.
Yep.
I love working with all of you. I think you're all amazing in your own way. Everybody brings something to the table.
I've learned more in the last 2 years than I learned in all of my other years combined before. Because like I said, we had that Native American case that was not in my wheelhouse whatsoever. I had no clue what to do. So I reached out to people and it's like, well, I don't want to say they said it's easy, but like, have them try this. They tried that. It was like golden. It worked.
And you learn something new.
Right.
That's the beauty of it.
Yep. So, and then I did find another case, or somebody, I forgot the scenario, but somebody was asking me about something, Native American involved. And I told him that. I said, well, have him try this. And I haven't heard back yet, but yes, we learn every time I talk to somebody, I learn something. So, Yep. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. We'll do our outro little thingy here if I can find it. It's been.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. Thank everybody for coming on.
Bye, guys.
Yes.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
Good night.
I
Love
think
you all.
we have one more episode before we shut it down for a month or two, up until, because, nobody has ghosts in the summer. It's always September, October is when
you're going to need to rest up.
Except if you're in Texas and Wisconsin.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah, those are the exceptions. I'm going to
Or Oklahoma, because we're still working a big case.
Yeah,
I'm going to get a banner that scrolls across the screen. Warning, stay out of Texas and Wisconsin.
Except for that's where I live. I can't stay out of it.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we will see you in 2 weeks.